I've had my JS2O shrinker for several years and it's been a great tool. I often need a machine with a deep throat, and the robust construction and the smoothness of the mechanism makes this one a joy to use. I wanted to make a backstop for the machine, but the one I designed for the Lancaster style shrinker just won't work on this one. After lots of experimenting, I came up with a backstop design that simply clamps on the lower arm. This makes it easy to set the stop at any depth from a full 3 inches down to a 1/4 inch. The adjustment is made by loosening a screw, moving the stop to the desired position, and retightening. It uses the same hex key that's used for jaw changes. Shrinkers are commonly used to curve pieces of angle. I'm going to use the stop to shrink this at 3 different depths, and you'll see there's quite a difference. On the first section, I'll shrink it 3/8 of an inch deep, which isn't enough, and you'll see what the problem is. On the second one, I'll shrink it 3/4 of an inch deep, which is just about the perfect amount. And on the last section, I'll go in the full 1 inch depth, and you'll see why that's a problem too. So we'll start with the 3/8 section. So the shrinker had no problem curving the angle, but I think you can see it's put a lot of bumps in this area. So that's why a shallow depth is not ideal. So let's set the next section to a 3/4 inch depth. And like I said before, that should be just about ideal for a 1 inch angle. So we'll move this back to the 3/4 inch position, lock it in place, and we'll shrink this section next. So that's just about a perfect curl. It's left this section that the shrinker jaws touched pretty much perfectly flat. It's given it a nice radius on this size, and it's not really disturbing the metal in this little flat area. Now let's go in full depth and you'll see what kind of a problem that will create. Do you see how we're losing the 90-degree angle on this part? That's the problem if you shrink too deeply. So for a 1 inch flange, the 3/4 inch depth is just about perfect. And it's so nice to have a stop you can push the work against to keep that depth consistent. Another task where a depth stop can help is taking a disc of metal and making a dome out of it. So to make a dome, the edge needs to be shrunk, but it needs to be shrunk progressively, meaning that the edge needs to shrink the greatest amount, and the farther inboard you get, the less shrinking is required, and there's no shrinking required at the very center. So I've set the depth stop for 1 inch. I'm going to make a pass all the way around this disc, shrinking 1 inch. So I've gone all the way around the perimeter, and you can see I have a lot of edge angle. Now I'm going to go in 3/4 of an inch deeper, and I'll set the depth stop there. I'll make another pass. I'm not shrinking quite as hard this time. So that's the end of the second pass, and you can see the shrinking is graduated, so the greatest shrink is on the edge, a little bit less shrink here, and I'm going to move in a little closer to the center this time. I'm going to go in just another 1/2 inch, make a very light shrink there. Okay, almost done. So there's just a little button left right in the center. So I'll move the depth stop all the way back and work right up to center on this pass. I'll work out just a little bit to make this a little more uniform. So I have a dome roughed out using nothing but the shrinker, and of course this is not perfectly smooth, but it wouldn't take much time, either hammering or by using an English wheel, to make this completely smooth. So using the depth stop on the shrinker has really helped to efficiently dome this disc. There are many forming operations that will stretch the edge of a piece of sheet metal. One example is these round over dies which fit on the beating machine. They do a great job of curling the edge of the metal over to 45 degrees, but they do stretch a little bit as they do that, and the stretching of the edge will take this flat part and give it a little bit of a contour. You can see how this now rocks on a flat surface, and this is very easy to correct by using the shrinker. And it's important to use a depth stop so you don't go too deep. So I've set this for just about 5/16 of an inch. That should be ideal for this application. And it doesn't take a lot of force. I'm only pressing with maybe 10 pounds force on the foot pedal. I'll go all along this edge and then we'll test this on a flat surface to see if I got it perfected. So it looks like that's just about perfect. And I can refine this surface a little bit more by making one more pass through the dies. That'll work out some of the flat spots that the shrinker jaws may have put in the metal. So that's given us a nice flat edge. This backstop is sold exclusively by Trick Tools, and it fits many machines similar to the JS Tools shrinker, such as the Lazze and Baleigh machines. It really enhances what these tools can do. If you enjoy my videos, please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when I post a new project. If you like, you can support these videos through Patreon. Just click the link at the end of the video. I'll see you next time.